You're watching the three-time NCMPR Medallion Award-winning Studio Bergen.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Larry Levanka and welcome to Studio Bergen. In what has become somewhat of a tradition here, our first episode of the year is a sit-down interview with the college's president, Dr. Michael D. Redmond. Thank you for being here, President Redmond.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, they teach journalists not to bury the lead, and I'm not going to bury the lead here either. The big story on campus is that you have announced that you are stepping down as president in just a few months, December 31st, 2019. What brought you to that decision?
Well, I don't think it should be a surprising decision. I mean, when I was appointed president about 2.5 years ago, I was on the verge of retirement then. And I knew I couldn't make a long-term commitment, so I saw it as a 2 to 3 year commitment. And that's the way it's played out. This will be about 2.5 years when I'll be stepping down. I feel just really honored to be president of the college and to finish out my career this way. I mean, it's really a great high for me. But there's another part to it as well, Larry. I just turned 2 weeks ago 68. And that's not that old these days, I know that. But I think as you get older, time speeds up and you begin to think about things differently. So I'm thinking more about the next stage of my life and what I want to do. And my partner, he's a bit younger than I am, and he's retired, and I want to spend more time with him.
All right, so I don't want this to turn into a post-mortem because we still have 3 months, right? And we can handle that.
A lot in those 3 months.
We're going to handle that another day.
Okay.
But you've accomplished a lot in these last few years. What sticks out? I mean, we're here in the STEM Student Research Center. What sticks out besides that?
Well, I think we've accomplished a lot here at the college over the past 2 to 3 years. And you're right about the STEM Center. I mean, we've secured funding for over $20 million worth of facilities upgrades. This STEM Center is just one of those. I'm really proud of getting that money, and I regret that I'll be stepping down before most of those projects will be completed. But I think that was a big win for the college. Finances have been tight. I mean, we all know it on campus. But I think I'm most proud of managing the college's budget and bending the cost curve downward. We've in fact cut expenses at the college about $16 million over 3 budget years. Right. And I think that's an incredible accomplishment. I think in the academic area, we've done some really big things. And I mean, some things a couple years ago we may have forgotten about, but 2.5 years ago, our registration system hardly worked. And now we have, a modern, up-to-date, student-friendly system. So I think that's a great deal.
So with all of that in mind, do you think the college is on the right track? Are we going in the right direction?
Well, I do. I think whenever a president steps down, people always wonder what's going on. And sometimes people think there's some other story behind the scenes of some deep problem. I'm really happy to say that's not what's happening here. I talk to the Board of Trustees every month about the challenges that we face at the college, the steps that we're taking to try to solve them, whether we're dealing with financial pressures or enrollment pressures. And they ask me lots of hard questions, right. And that's okay, that's their job. But my sense from the board is that they feel comfortable and they're confident with the steps that we're taking.
And we'll come back to the board in a moment,
okay.
But I think that's a good point to stay on. Confidence, right? I mean, you have a strong sense of duty, always have, to the institution. And I think if you weren't confident that the college wasn't going in the right direction, I don't think you'd let yourself step away. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, look, I would have liked to have seen us make more progress on stabilizing enrollment. We're not to the point that I had hoped 2.5 years ago. So that does concern me, but I think the steps that we're taking are the right steps. Just when we'll get enough traction for it to make a big enough difference for the college is a bit hard for me to say. But I know that the board has told me explicitly that they're not looking for a new president to come in and figure out, well, what do we need to do?
Right.
They're looking for someone to carry on the work agenda that we've established over the past 2 to 3 years.
So let's stay on the board now. So can you give us any insight into its thinking and the process that we may follow going forward as we search for a new president?
Well, it's still early in the process. I can tell you that the board is meeting and discussing at great lengths about how to go about recruiting a new president. I believe they're committed to doing a national search and hiring the very best candidate that they can. People sometimes think that the way you do that is you just put an ad in the paper and then you have a search committee and it all just takes place very quickly. But there's a lot of spade work first, developing a profile of the college, soliciting feedback from the college about what you're looking for in the new president, and those wheels are beginning to turn now.
Again, on the board, and I'd be remiss not to bring it up, but we lost our board chair this year. Carroll Otis was a personal friend of both of ours, and I think that hit us all hard. The impact of Carroll's passing. Just talk a little bit about that and kind of what's gone through your head in these last few months without Carroll around.
Well, her passing was sudden. And we weren't prepared for it. We were all caught off guard. And I think that made it harder for us to deal with as a college. Carroll was a wonderful person, but more than anything, she was committed to this college. And even when some health problems got in the way, there was hardly an event here at the college that Carroll was not present at. And the reason why she would be there is I think she wanted to say to the college community that the board is with you. We stand with you. And I think that meant a lot to the campus community. And my guess is, well, not my guess, I'm sure the campus feels somewhat unsettled now that she's gone and we've lost that steady person at the helm of the college. She was a friend of mine too, and I think it's probably known that she was instrumental in my appointment as president. So it has been a shock.
But we do, of course, move on, and
as she would have wanted.
That's right.
As she would have wanted.
That's right. And there are opportunities for people to pay tribute to Carroll through a scholarship fund that has been established in the Bergen Community College Foundation. Let's talk about the foundation for a moment. I think that's one of those things that has really changed in the last few years, and some of us have a little bit more, or not experience, but definitely a hand in that than others. But the foundation is on the right track. There are donations coming in, there are scholarships coming in. Talk a little bit about the foundation and its path ahead.
Well, when you asked about things that I was proud of that we've accomplished, I should have mentioned the foundation. I think it's fair to say that when I came in as president, the foundation was broken. It was not moving ahead. There were problems on every front, including not raising money, which is the whole purpose of a foundation. And the first year, it was an incredible struggle trying to get the foundation restarted. And I think we've done that now. I think we have really good leadership. We've added new members to the board of directors. And you're right, money is now coming in. And I'm finding now that I'm spending more time going out and meeting with donors. Now, I was a little, at first thought, okay, can I do that? I've never done that kind of thing. But it's actually fun. People want to hear about the college, and so you tell them about the college, and then you hope that at some point down the road that they contribute.
So you've talked about stabilizing the college's finances, stabilizing enrollment, stabilizing the foundation. What are some of the other things in the immediate future that the college needs to be focused on, whether you're president or whether somebody else is president?
Well, I think for the immediate future and intermediate future, we're going to have to be focused upon enrollment, recruitment, retention, and the associated financial issues that go along with that. And I think people will begin to see some changes here this year that they may not first think of as tied to recruitment and retention, but they really are. One you're involved in. I think people are going to see that in our marketing, we will continue to emphasize affordability. After all, we're a community college. But I think you'll find that tied much more closely to the issue of quality. And our animating theme now in our advertising and marketing is that a quality education in New Jersey does not have to cost a fortune. Choose Bergen Community College. And we want to do a better job telling our story to the public that this is a quality education that we provide, not just an affordable education. So that's one big thing. A second big thing is I think it's time for an overhaul of our student success program. We've had some great people leading that program. They'll continue to lead the program. But I think our student success program that students take when they first come into
Right.
the college needs to be decoupled from our developmental studies program,
Right.
needs to be anchored more clearly into our retention efforts. And the biggest thing about that that's important to me is I think the linchpin of that ought to be that in that course, students develop an academic and career plan. In fact, I think the first month to 6 weeks they're in the course, that should be what we're trying to accomplish. And that plan we need to track in our computer systems. We need to nudge students to keep them on plan, right? And I think that will make a big deal. And if I'll mention one other thing too, the program that we've had for our undecided students who are not sure of their program of study, I don't think it's been a great program. And we've worked hard this year to lay the groundwork for a new program. And our faculty senate will be meeting this month and next month, and I hope to see them approve this new program. I think it'll make a major difference with students, so I'm excited about that.
You talk about nudging students or trying to help them in their
Right.
decision-making process. That's one of the things we're going to see this semester with the new website that's coming
Yes.
online.
Well,
where
you're involved deeply with that.
Absolutely, and that tries to give students an assessment of potential career paths and what they may be interested in. How important is that going to be to provide students with that resource?
So, I mean, I think we all know our website needed an overhaul, but I didn't want it just to look prettier. And I didn't want it just to be, branding how great the college is and so forth. I wanted it to be more serviceable for students. So a lot of our students come and they're not sure about their future. So what will happen now on the new website is they'll go through a short assessment if they're unsure of their program of study. That will narrow down their choices. And then what happens after that is the students will see a list of careers in our service area, jobs that they can really get and that we can help them prepare for. And they'll see the salary ranges. And then they drill down on that and then begin to see the educational credentials and how they could get started on that path here at Bergen Community College. I think that's a big deal.
Sure is. Let's now pivot to some of the more long-term challenges that the college may face. We've seen the Community College Opportunity Grant come online, or online on board, initiated in the last year. Free community college, is that a direction that, or tuition-free community college, is that a direction that community college will take, not just in the state, but nationally? What other trends, what other long-term challenges exist for Bergen?
Well, let's start with the Community College Opportunity Grant, or we often say CCOG Grant. It's certainly a big initiative in the state. There was a fairly big battle this year in the legislature about it and funding and so forth. It's a big priority for the governor. I think it's here to stay. I think you may see developments this year in the state legislature that make it more part of the permanent landscape of New Jersey. The fact of the matter is, in New Jersey, there's a goal to ensure that all working adults, 65% of them, have a post-secondary credential by the year 2025. That's a big deal economically for the state, and I don't see any way that can happen unless community colleges are part of the solution. And many students out there simply can't afford the cost of a college education and all the things that go with it, even at a community college. So this program, I think, is important and valuable for the state's future. Now, lots of states are doing this, and they're different. The programs look differently in every state, and I think New Jersey is still trying to sort through that. Now, one of the things we did here, I think Bergen played a major role in this year, was getting the adjusted gross income limit. Before, you had to come from a family earning $45,000 or less, and we thought that was too low. And we worked very hard with the state to get that increase to $65,000. And that's still not even the median income in New Jersey. So I think CCOG will be around for some time. What
else do we see in the future for community colleges and for Bergen?
Okay, so the pathways between high school and college, they've got to be smoother. I mean, they exist now, but they're often torturous for students to navigate. And we've got to make it smoother and easier for students.
Is this where dual enrollment and early college might come in?
Early college. I mean, with our early college program here, we started 2 years ago with one high school.
Right.
And now we have 9. And that's where we get the best juniors. They go to high school in the morning, come to college in the afternoon, graduate with a high school diploma and a 2-year degree, they probably save $50,000 to $75,000 on a college education. Now the other part of it, and we'll continue to expand that, but the other part of it that we're just now starting that I'm really excited about is what we call the Early Careers Program. So we're going to high schools and we're saying, give us your B students and your C students, because they need to have jobs too when they graduate from high school. And then we're going to business and industry and say, well, what skills do they need to have for you willing to hire them when they graduate? We'll spell out that skill set, go back to the high schools and say, you give us those students after school, we'll help them gain those skills and help them get a job when they graduate. I think that's a big deal.
So as we start to wrap up here, you can take the faculty member out of the classroom, but you can't take the classroom out of the faculty member. Any advice for students as they're here on campus, perhaps for the first time this semester?
Well, Larry, you always ask me that question, and my answer is going to be essentially the same. So if you're a student out there and you're listening to me, here's the thing. Don't just settle for getting a college degree. Make sure you get an education along the way. And that means doing your homework, coming to class, and never settling. Never let anyone tell you what you can be. You have the ability to make those choices for yourself. And here's the thing. We're here to help you succeed. Have a great semester.
Do you really need to say anything else? Well, I will, just because this won't be the last time that you'll hear from Dr. Redmond. He will be here for the next 3 months, and we will do this again before he exits as Bergen Community College's president. So thank you, Dr. Redmond, for being here today, and to be continued for another day. So I'm Larry Levanka for Studio Bergen. We'll see you again next month. Take care.